home-based strategies, why are they important versus clinic versus wherever strategies? But as we know, cognitive impairments affect daily activities, performance, functioning, problem solving. Recovery continues in the home. The 1 hour or 45 minutes that we spend with them in the clinic, I know we're doing amazing work as clinicians, and we need to have a way for them to carry that over when they go home and they're with their families. The routines support their daily activities because it's familiar environment to them, establishing real life challenges for what they really are facing at home versus our clinic, which is usually set up for success. So home-based strategies are really important for those reasons. And anyone who works in home health who's on the call, you know this best because you see it all the time. There's evidence that supports that tailored home-based interventions can improve quality of life and reduce symptom burden. So our first literature review that I'd like to start with is from UAB, which is the University of Alabama. They created a cognitive stimulation guidebook in 2021 that was based on a lot of literature that's out there to support various parts of cognition. So if we look at the stimulation targets where you see in that middle portion right here, on the outer parts of the ring are the types of proponents of cognition that you're trying to improve. So whether you're looking to improve memory, processing speed, problem solving, language, attention and concentration. They also have fine motor and academic in here too. They're not cognitive components, but they do play a role in some of the activities that they talk about. But I like this guidebook and I wanted to include it because it is something that was made for the home that can be done with little to no cost, which we know is a big factor for a lot of people to be successful with being able to carry things over into the home environment. It includes activities that the person wants to do or finds fun or likes to do, which is a huge neuroplasticity principle of salience. We know that that will always breed better success. And then it gives you ways to progress the activity from lower level that are easier all the way to higher level activities. As the patient progresses, if they don't progress, you stay in the lower level range. But it's really great because it can guide the person that's leading the activity on how to progress the activity up or down as needed. And so this guidebook came out of a grant that was part of the TBI model systems. And so it's really well researched and has a lot of literature to back it. So we'll go through each one. It's also free. So if you typed in-home cognitive stimulation guidebook, UAB cognitive stimulation guidebook in Google, the PDF will come right up for you and you should be able to access it for you to utilize and to also pass along to caregivers or family members of those who have cognitive impairments. So when you get into this PDF and content, they have a table of contents that tells you all of the various activities that are included. As you can see, there are a ton, like so many. So you can find something for everyone. They have everything from playing cards, guessing words, word search, Sudoku, card games, coding, locating information. So what you'll see is, let's see if I can use my pen so I can point better. Let's see. Okay, so here are the types of activities, and then next to it in the parentheses, you'll see an acronym that stands for the type of target that it's targeting, like the type of cognitive impairment that it's targeting. So for auditory comprehension, that's the activity, and it's targeting attention and concentration and language in that particular activity. If I went down to Sudoku, and looked here, it's targeting A for academics, AC for attention and concentration, PS for problem solving, and SP for speed of processing. So each activity targets different things. And so if you knew exactly what you wanted to target, right? Say that I knew I wanted to target memory for the person that I'm working with, then I'm going to scan the list and make sure that I find something that has an M. So card play would suffice, locating information would satisfy that. Whatever it is that I'm wanting to target, I make sure that I align it here. And so you have a lot of options on here. Um, Also, remember salience is key, right? If I decided to do memory and I chose if I chose locating information and I wanted to do memory, but the person that I'm working with never used a phone book or never used like the computer to locate information, that would not be salient or specific to that person. So I'd probably need to find another activity that incorporated memory, but also was specific and unique to the person that I'm working with. So that's just a little caveat for these, but it gives you so many different options. So I'm sure you can find something, at least one thing for whoever you're working with. So let's say that we did choose locating information. That is the stimulation. That is the activity that I chose for this example. So my example is locating information. And so the targets that I am being able to target for that specific activity are academic. It's it's whatever's highlighted in color. So the grayed out ones are not being targeted in this specific activity. But if it's colored in, that means memory is being targeted, academic is being targeted, language, problem solving, attention and concentration. Those are all being targeted in this specific activity. Now, when you look at the levels tell you the progression. So if I am on level one, that's the easiest level for this task. Level two is the next upgrade, and some of the activities go all the way up to level three. So you have a lot of options for upgrades for each task. What you will see for each activity is it will give you notes. Notes are for the person that's carrying the activity out, and it tells you what exactly this person is supposed to do for this specific activity. They're supposed to find information from an internet search using a smartphone, tablet, whatever is salient to them that they usually use. Um, and you ask them to search for a phone number of a specific business, information on a topic of interest. That's the easiest level. Nothing to it. They kind of get to choose what they want to do. And then they find the requested information. That's level one. That's where you see task. Now, if I wanted to go to level two and I wanted to progress this activity for someone to give it a little bit more of a challenge for them, um, you can ask them to find a specific show or movie that is currently playing. Ask them to find multiple shows that will be playing at a specific time or on a specific channel. Later in the day, ask them to recall the information that you talked about earlier. Ask them to plan an evening of television watching within a 2-hour block and say, hey, we're going to watch some TV with their family later on between 6 and 8 p.m. Can you find me a show or shows that are in between that time frame? What is it called? What channel is it on? And all that information. So they can use that. They can do that using their TV guide and the remote. And everyone has that at home. So that's just the progression of this same activity of locating information, but it's just a little bit more difficult, a little bit more targeted for that person on the level two. Level three is even harder. I don't have it on this slide, but level three for this one, it provides really specific information. So the example that they gave is that you ask them to look for a car. It doesn't have to be a car. It could be anything that's they're potentially going to need or their family is potentially going to need in the future, right? Like maybe they have a grandson or granddaughter on the way and you want to have them help find items for the registry. And so you say, I specifically need a Duna baby carrier and baby bottles and XYZ within this budget from only Amazon or Babylist. And you give them super specific information. And then that's how they carry out the task for level three. So each thing gets a little bit more difficult as you progress through the levels. But if that's too much, you don't have to go that far. You can just stick to level one or level two and keep it really simple if they're not able to do that. But again, try to tie it into things that are going to be specific to that person. They can be helpful. They find themselves helpful because now you're doing something that maybe their family member actually needed, and then you can pass it off. I remember having a patient that did something similar to this, and we were planning a trip. It intended to be a fake trip, but when he did start planning everything, he said, well, now that I have all the details, I think I'm going to take my girlfriend on vacation. And I said, great. Great for her because it was very relevant to them. So they also have an appendix that I thought was very helpful because a lot of times we use games in rehab, but we don't always tie them to cognition. And so this is a list of a ton of games that are probably used all the time, that you've probably used in your sessions too. And then the X's here, again, it has the same targets like academics, problem solving, memory, processing, speed, whatever. And then the X's will tell you exactly what each one of these games is targeting. So if we decide we want to play Connect 4, they give you a bunch of different games that can target various cognitive impairments, which I think can be very helpful for documentation as well. Because a lot of times people will play games and they say that we're doing something for cognition with XYZ game, but they can't actually tie the game back to what they're trying to improve or challenge or integrate cognitively into the session. So this is a great way for you to be able to support the use of games in your documentation. But yes, so if you have any of these games, or if you don't have them and you are trying to increase your ability to target specific things, problem solving, maybe you want to do more visual spatial, then you can be a little bit more targeted in what you decide to purchase when you go to buy it, or what you go to recommend for the patient and the family to buy, which you can always get secondhand at Goodwill or whatever. But you can be a little bit more targeted in your recommendations as well.